So I'm shooting this video to fill you in on what I think about his latest videos and also what I saw in terms of changes, because his videos changed in certain ways on how he thinks about certain things or how he talks about it. Doesn't mean that his thinking changed, but at least his expression on the channel changed. At least that's what I've spotted over the past couple of days and weeks. And that's great because I want to inspire change, and Nomad Capitalist is our industry's leader. He is the industry leader. And I think it's really important for a leader to be a role model when it comes to a lot of stuff. Honesty, transparency, just being authentic, genuine. Okay, so that's what I want to inspire. So I want to talk about that. And let's get started with this video. And look, I don't hate Andrew Henderson. I just want to make this clear because there's some people think, well, you hate the guy, that's why you talk so negatively about him. The honest truth is that I was informed about Andrew Henderson by a very close friend of mine, and I already pointed it out in some of my videos, and that was the reason why I actually started shooting these videos. But obviously there's also certain stuff that I spotted through watching his videos where I just know, because I've been to these places, I've done business in these places, you know, I've lived in these places, so I know that certain information is not really true. It doesn't apply to everybody. And certain information is not revealed, and certain information is sugar-coated, which of course nobody likes, and a lot of people have not been to certain countries, so they don't know the reality of living there. An example is Hong Kong. Is Hong Kong still a good place to do business? I personally don't think so. Hong Kong was created by the British Empire, and Hong Kong was a democracy. You could argue Hong Kong is still a partial democracy, and maybe that's true, but Chinese influence is changing the political system in Hong Kong. It's changing how foreigners can do business in Hong Kong. And we've seen that happening in China after the communist revolution in the early 20th century. I think it was 1921. There was a lot of foreign companies in China that were driven out by the Chinese Communist Party, right? The CCP, that's what they call it. And we're maybe seeing now the early stages of that happening in Hong Kong. I don't know, but what I'm trying to say is that places change. Places aren't always the same. You know, policies change, government changes, and obviously Hong Kong was handed back to the Chinese communist government. And I had a company in Hong Kong which I decided to close because they moved the accounting department from Hong Kong to China, and I was dealing with China, which of course I don't want, and was just very problematic for me. So I decided to get out of Hong Kong, and I moved my company to a different jurisdiction, and I'm very happy now where I'm located with my company, and that's perfectly fine. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that I'm not telling you, oh, Hong Kong is a great deal, I want you to set up a Hong Kong company because I make money with it. If I make money with a service, it's much easier for me to tell you that you should do it yourself. And it's also easier for me not to tell you about the negatives and the things that you should know about, but I'm not telling you about those things because I make money through selling the service, so I don't want you to know those things because chances are that you will actually decline my request to purchase my product or service. And that's what I want to just talk about. I want to be transparent, you know. And to say that Asia is still a great deal, I mean, Asia is very nationalist minded. Just look at a lot of countries. I mean, the visa situation in Thailand has been changing every year for the past decades. It's been changing, it's been getting tougher and tougher. And a lot of people that have lived in Thailand for a long time, they know that. People like me, I mean, I've been in Asia for a long time, as you guys probably know. Spent a good amount of time in Asia. And I love Asia. I love certain things about Asia. I love the lifestyle. I love the low cost of living. I mean, Asia is very inspirational for a digital nomad, for a startup entrepreneur, because the low cost of living, the great quality of life, the dating opportunities, the networking opportunities, there's a lot of good in Asia. But now that I'm older, I'm in my 30s, I'm like, I probably don't want to live in Asia anymore because other things are more important for me. I prioritize other things, like for instance, whether I can own land, whether I can own property. That's important to me now. Can I become a resident? Can I become a citizen? That's important to me because I'm now thinking more long term. Now, when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, I thought very differently because I was building a business, so I didn't really have the capital to worry about, you know, getting citizenship or buying properties, owning assets. I don't think that most Asian countries are a great place to own assets because there's very little legal protection in place. And, you know, we're talking about Vietnam, we're talking about Thailand. I mean, those countries are not great investment opportunities at all. Not at all. You know, in Thailand, if you want to own land, I mean, you can't do it unless you own a company. And then it's very complicated structure to set up. And to own a business in Thailand is very complicated. You know, you as a foreigner, you can only own 49% of the business, and you need to have a Thai partner who owns 51% of the business. So is that liberal? I don't think it is. If you do that in a different country, if you go to Latin America, you can own 100% of the company. If you go to Western Europe, you can own 100% of the company. Even in Eastern Europe, you can own 100% of the company. So some countries don't have the track record to actually make it worthwhile opening up a company there. You know, if a country hasn't had a track record for at least, I would say, 2 decades, that country is not investable in my humble opinion, because you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk. Even if certain structures are put in place, who knows if they're enforceable by law, because in certain countries, you know, the law usually favors the local over the foreigner. So you are in jeopardy if anything happens. And Thailand is just one example. You know, look at what happened in Vietnam right now. I mean, you can only really live there if you open up a company. You know, you can get a residence permit, great. The Philippines, things haven't really changed there in terms of visa situation. Malaysia, big changes, man. So much changed. It's crazy, you know, with the Malaysia My Second Home program, and for somebody to come out and say that it's still a good deal, even though income requirements quadrupled. And look, I'm not saying that some people don't have 10,000 or more a month in residual income, in passive income, and he shot a video on passive income is a myth. It depends. I have passive income streams through my marketing agency, and the question is, what really makes something a passive income stream? Well, for me it is that I need far less work than I needed in the initial stages of building the income stream. Of course, nothing is 100% passive. Also, nothing is 100% online. You can also not say I'm running an online business if you're doing offline events. So it always depends. Nothing is black or white, you know. Things always have color, you know. There are different shades, right? But if you spend less time than you did before, or you have it outsourced and you only spend maybe a few hours a month to retain the income stream, then that's pretty passive in my humble opinion. Or if you have apartments and you have a real estate agent who takes care of those apartments, of course you're gonna make some calls here and there. If they ask you, hey, do you want to rent it out to that person? You know, here's their profile, for instance, you know, in certain countries, you know, don't collect the payments. That's all done automatically, you know, auto payments are set up. So, and you don't need to do any maintenance because you have a person who takes care of that. Of course, it is more passive than not. Is it 100% passive? Not. Maybe it's 95% passive. So that's what I mean by passive income. You want to achieve a high level of passive income. I'm not saying it's 1,000% passive or 100%. Of course not. But anyway, that's just so much that I'm commenting on all the stuff that he mentioned in his videos. It's like, how is that passive at all? Well, if you have a pension, that's certainly passive income. You know, if you want to say, hey, you got to go to the bank to pick up the money, you know, to withdraw the money from the ATM. Do you want to say that this is work? I mean, of course it isn't. You know, there are income streams that are much more passive than others, and that's what I'm talking about, you know. But anyway, let's leave that aside. So I think that, yeah, I mean, just taking a look at the whole situation in Asia, and he did also shoot a video on the Lese Majeste, or Lese Majeste, however you pronounce the term, it's French, I'm not sure, because he pointed out that there was an incident in England now, you know, Queen Elizabeth II died, she passed, and of course, you know, people were demonstrating and some people got arrested. Shouldn't happen in a developed country, in a tier 1 country like United Kingdom, like England. Shouldn't happen there, right? But it did happen. And I actually have a video about to be uploaded on this subject, what I think about it. He's talking about it, you know, just about the Western countries that have these problems, but not about the Eastern countries that have the same or even worse problems. And that's where I have a problem, because that is bias. But you're doing much better now, Andrew. And look, dude, I like a lot of things about you, and I'm sure you're watching this video. There's a lot that's admirable about you. Your work ethic is admirable. You have built a great business in terms of like the team that you build, and you're doing very good. You're a very good narrative pusher, which we all are. We're all focusing on a narrative, and what that narrative is depends on what we're trying to sell, and we have to be honest about that too. It's a very difficult decision to move overseas, and I don't want to be sugarcoating things, because I know how it is. And there's a lot of people that are sugarcoating, that are living in these countries, who talk about, you know, moving out of certain Western countries where freedom of speech is in decline, which is true, don't get me wrong, it is true. But if you said the same things in a developing country against the government, you would be jailed right away. You would be jailed. There's no question as to whether you would be jailed or not. The only question is for how long you'd be jailed. So Western Europe, you have a lot of freedom of speech there. Still, United States, you also do, even though some people say you don't. Try opening your mouth in certain other countries, you know, for instance, Asian countries, Middle Eastern countries, you can't say anything there. Like, I'm not telling you to move to the United Arab Emirates because you can save taxes there. We all know how quickly the visa situation in certain countries can change, or the tax situation. Now we're seeing in the United Arab Emirates that they are gonna be charging corporate taxes starting next year. So if you made the decision, you spend the money to set up a company there in the hope to reduce your taxes, your corporate taxes, well, great. I mean, you may be able to do it, or you did it for like a year or two, but now they're charging again. Is it really logical to suggest that just because you move to a country that has 0% corporate taxes, that you would be paying 0% corporate taxes forever? Of course, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. The countries, they can change that from one moment to another. And in fact, they want to lure investors in so they can change it later on, because they know once people have established a business in a country and they got comfortable, maybe they have a family, they have employees, they invested a lot of money, they aren't moving out so quickly anymore because they have invested a substantial amount of money. And that's exactly what the United Arab Emirates is doing right now. And a lot of countries are doing that because they simply want to get you in. And I'm not saying that those countries are bad, but those countries are salesmen as much as YouTubers are salesmen. They create this high incentive to lure you in, and then the next year, it's a different tax law. So you put up all this money, maybe you hired a guy like Andrew Henderson and paid him, I don't know, $50,000 or $100,000 to create a good legal structure for you, just so you can change it a year later. I mean, where's the logic there? I personally believe you should move to a country where you can see yourself living in for at least a couple of years, even if you pay some taxes, because the most important thing that I believe is not to get your taxes down to zero, because you may never achieve that. Maybe you will achieve it, maybe not, but the goal is to be happy with what you got. The goal is to really be satisfied with where you live. Do you have a good quality of life? For instance, I like living in Texas. I love Texas. I don't mind paying my taxes in the United States. I think Texas is great, and I could argue, well, I also like Mexico. Mexico is great, so I think I'm going to be spending a lot more time in Mexico potentially, because I love Mexico. I love the culture. I really like the Hispanic culture. It's a very open-minded culture. It's not xenophobic at all like Asia. Asia is very xenophobic. Most places are. They don't want foreigners there. That's why they change. That's why they change the laws. That's why they change the visa systems there. For instance, Malaysia, they quadrupled the income requirements for the Malaysia My Second Home program because they don't want to have any more immigrants from China. And the people from China, they can't get out of China anymore anyway, because the Chinese government does not want the rich people to get out of China, or even just people with a good net worth. If it's like a few $100,000 or more, they don't want those people to move out of China because they want that money to be spent in China. They want to keep those people in China. That's what they want. But those countries, they don't want foreigners. Thailand, they don't want foreigners. They don't want you to become a citizen. Malaysia, they don't want you to become a citizen. Vietnam does not want you to become a citizen. All those countries, you know, and Bangladesh, I mean, to say Bangladesh, I'm bullish on Bangladesh, is just complete nonsense. Bangladesh is a dictatorship. I'm sorry. That country has no proven track record whatsoever. I don't care about their tax reduction benefits, if they have any in the future. I'm not sure what the situation there is. I'm not informed, perfectly honest with you. But a country that has such a small proven track record, that was a dictatorship and still is a dictatorship for such a long time, who wants to move there? If you have money, you want to live in a country like that? High corruption, high air pollution, it's a mess, pretty much. It is a mess. The political system is a mess. It's anti-foreigner. So you want to move there just because you can pay a little bit less taxes? It's up to you. You can decide that, but the facts, the data suggests otherwise. Doesn't make sense. Now, Latin America is great. Latin America has been open to immigrants forever. They are very open-minded, very multicultural. They have a proven track record of liberty. A proven track record of liberty. If you go there, you can become a resident, you can become a citizen, you can own land. People are fine with that. They don't mind foreigners because they are all mixed anyway. Whereas in Asia, people are pure. Yeah, pure breeds. So they need a lot more time to be open-minded, to become more open-minded, because they've never been exposed to it. So if you've never been exposed to it, naturally you have more resentment towards other races. That's just how it works. Now, before you go to a place, you better check out whether you like that place or not, because at the end of the day, you're going to be investing money there. So you better make sure that you like it, you like the people, that you can resonate with the country, the culture. And for sure, like long-term, if you want to live in a place and you don't want to speak the language, then don't even live there. You don't understand the language, you don't understand the people. If I want to live in Serbia, I should speak Serbian. I should speak the local language. If I want to live in Russia, I got to learn Russian, right? Because otherwise I'm not really a citizen of any country. I'm just, you know, portraying to be a citizen. But if I live in Mexico, I mean, I speak German, English, Spanish, Japanese. So, because I like these countries. No, of course, I mean, there's more countries that speak Spanish, right? But I moved to the United States. I'm a resident of the United States now. I'm happy there too. But that's just how it is, you know, wherever you go, you know, just think long term, whether you would like it or not. Just think about the long term picture. Can you invest? Is the country investable? Does the country has a proven track record? Because even if the laws just changed recently, it doesn't mean that they will prioritize you over the locals or that it's trustworthy at all. You gotta wait. Countries need time to develop, and if you cannot become a citizen, if you cannot own land, if everything is anti-foreigner, then I don't think it's a good investment. I think it's a bad investment. Anyway, to finish off this video, I do like that Andrew pointed out in his video the certain places, you know, for instance, Thailand is a kingdom, Morocco is a kingdom, and other places like England, you know, there's a lot of places that are still kingdoms, still monarchies. And he did point out that, okay, if you don't want to live under a kingdom, maybe Thailand is not a good place for you. I think he mentioned Thailand or a different country, I don't know. But he pointed it out, and I appreciate that he did that, because that's already a step in the right direction. Because I think if you're moving out of a Western country and you want to have freedom of speech, you want to be able to talk about governments, and you know, you don't want to be in Thailand because Thailand does not allow that. You're going to get jailed 3 to 15 years for each offense against the monarchy of Thailand. I'm just saying, you know, or if you want to become a citizen, a resident of Thailand, you want to own land, Thailand is not a good place for that, because the visa laws keep changing, and they prefer net worth over income. That's true. But also now we see they want both. They don't just prefer one over the other. They want both. Malaysia, they want high income. They want a decent net worth, you know, at least like whatever it is, like 500,000, $1 million. So they want both. It's not just they prefer one or the other. They want both. In Latin America, they prefer, or they only want income, you know, only savings. So it's either or. But Asian countries, they're going through a difficult time right now, because those countries moved quite quickly from poverty to middle income, and they don't know how to deal with it. That's what I'm seeing. They don't know how to deal with it, and they're making it more difficult for foreigners because they don't need them anymore. They have more people who are middle class, they have more rich people, so they don't need foreigners as much anymore. Only the ones who have money. Remember that, only the ones who have money. If you have money, you're welcome. If you don't have money, you're not welcome. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to comment on his latest videos or on my videos, something you didn't like, feel free to do it, you know. Just say whatever you want to say. Put your thoughts in the comments below. I catch you on the next one. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, and investment advice several times a week right now. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos.